Hi, everybody. Aundrea De Leon here, and today I am going to talk about the 3 key differences you need to know between change versus transition and why it's important to know them, because it's going to be important on how you navigate and how you respond. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Aundrea De Leon, and I work with seasoned professionals who are exceptional at achieving results, but they've hit a brick wall. And I work with them to break through that brick wall and help them achieve results and get back to feeling accomplished in 60 days or less. So let's get to our topic at hand. Let's talk about the difference between change and transition. So there's kind of 3 major differences between change and transition that are important to know and understand, because how change and transition impacts us is different, and we may need different tools, skills, and resources in order to navigate one versus the other. So let's get into that. So let's talk about change. The first difference between change and transition is that change is typically externally driven, where transition is more internally driven. So let's talk about externally driven change. That could be externally driven by our own choice or by the choice of someone else. So that can be a job change, either by choice, by our own choice, or someone else's choice. That can be a change in relationships, again, by our own choice or somebody else's choice. It can be a change in hairstyle. It can be a change. Maybe we think we're making a change in lifestyle. We want to move out of the city into the country. We want to change houses. We want a bigger house. We want a smaller house. But it's more of an externally focused change. Transition, on the other hand, requires and is an internally driven change, meaning our patterns for living, our patterns and systems for life, our beliefs, our values, etc., are changing. And it's things that we can't tangibly explain to people. So it's not like we can say, today I liked the color blue and tomorrow I don't like the color blue. That's not a tangible. Transition is more of an internal change. And so it's something that people aren't necessarily going to see from the outside. They might see behavior changes. They might see choices change, that kind of thing. But there's something that's more internally driven by it, not external. So that's the first difference. Change is typically externally driven, where transition is an internal change, and internal thoughts, beliefs, and what we value. The other thing about change versus transition is when we make a change, it's typically patterns can be repeated. Behaviors can be repeated. So if we change a job, we can change a job title, we can change to another company, but we're doing the same thing we were doing before, maybe just in a different way, maybe for a different company, maybe we got a promotion, that kind of thing. But basically what we knew, we're just going to go and do it again, but do it maybe a little bit different or a little bit better. Whereas transition, there's an ending that's required. Something is coming to an end, and it's typically an end you can't go back to. And so you're not able to repeat patterns, because almost when you're in transition and there's an ending of something, there's usually a feeling and a period of grief, because there's a loss. There's something that can't be gone back to. There's something that you can't go back to it. It's done. It's over. And that's typically where people get hung up and maybe have some frustration or some challenges, because they weren't expecting an end of something. The other thing is that in transition, there will be an end, there'll be a new beginning, and then there's also kind of this period of flux or transition happening, and people aren't expecting that. So there's really 3 more phases to it than just a change. A change is kind of, you just pick it up and move it over here and keep going, where transition, there's some stopping of things that can't be done anymore. There's new things that are starting, but there's also kind of this flux and this unknown period where there's some other deeper changes that have to happen. The other key difference between change and transition is change happens usually very rapidly and very quickly, whereas transition can be a very slow process. And that can be very challenging for people because in this day and age, we can make changes fast. We can order groceries online. We can have we don't even have to shop. We can just order Amazon. It's delivered to our door. There's so many things. We're in a data and information. Life is moving so much faster than it used to. And so when we're making a big change, including a change that requires that internal transition, that internal change, we want it to happen fast. We want it to be quick. We want it to be done so we can move on. And it doesn't always work out that way. Transition can be a very slow process because it requires psychological changes. It requires mental, emotional, sometimes spiritual shifts in people. And we don't like that place of discomfort and unknown. We like our finite places. We like to know what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be doing it. We want results right now. And so that can make people super uncomfortable. So if you are experiencing some changes in your life, I'd invite you to analyze and ask yourself, is it a change or really is this a transition? So where I see people not realizing that this is happening is with big stops and starts. So oftentimes families who are having first children aren't realizing that it's not just a change. They're not just adding someone to their family. It's actually a big transition because they're transitioning out of individualness and some freedoms and things that now they don't have for a period of time. I work with people. A lot of my clients are people that have had corporate lives or corporate roles or made big career changes. Suddenly, they went from being a doer, an executor, a facilitator into a sales role or a business owner role. And that is a big trend. That is a transition. That's not just a change. We think we're making a change. Like, I'm just not going to do that anymore and I'm going to go do my own thing. But we don't realize the major psychological shifts, the internal changes that happen, the beliefs, the patterns, because the patterns and systems that we used when we were more of an employee, when we were more of a deliverer, those patterns and thoughts and behaviors and values don't necessarily equate to being a business owner or being in a sales role or being at the front end role. And there's some things that have to shift there. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, is because they feel like they're not navigating it gracefully. They feel like they're doing a shitty job. They feel like they should be doing this better. All in all, they're doing it absolutely right. It may not be getting end results, and they're used to getting end results very fast, and they're not getting that right now. And that's where that quick change versus longer transition can feel really, really frustrating. So I invite you to evaluate in your life, are you in change or are you in transition? And you can be experiencing multiple, and understand that there's going to be more work and patience and skills and resources required to complete and get through transition, because there's more internal change that needs to happen. So again, my name is Aundrea De Leon. I actually reprogram humans for success, because the levels of thinking, the systems of thinking, the habits, the patterns that got us to this first level of success are not the ones that are going to take us to the next level of success, because we need to transition. We need to end some things. We need to explore some new things, work some things out, and we need to start some new things. And so that's where I come into play. If you want to talk about that, you can schedule a complimentary consult call with me. We can talk about what's holding you back from making moves and forward progress in your transition and get you moving forward. So again, I work with seasoned professionals who are exceptional at getting results, but have felt like they hit that brick wall and they're feeling stuck. And we work through and break down that brick wall, get people results, moving forward, feeling confident, finding direction, purpose, and success in less than 60 days. I hope you're having a great day. I'll be back with more information on change versus transition, and we can talk about how that impacts you. Have a good day. We'll see you guys soon.